Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Cinderella phenomenon. We are doing Klaude's route, so let's get right into it. No matter what I do, I can never make a difference. He died because of me. It's all my fault. We have so much gold, and yet they won't spare a single coin. If only I could be rid of him. All he does is take. The voices continue to pound inside my head like a trapped animal fighting in its cage. I become aware that I am in a dream, a nightmare. The moment I realize I begin to stir, I awake to wake myself up and stop when I hear another voice appear to my consciousness. How could they miss me? It's not as if they haven't already replaced me. The voice is familiar. For a few moments, it is the only input I hear in my mind. Whose voice is this? I try to listen, but to no avail. The other voices soon pass by our mind and never possibly hear anything. I force myself awake. My heart is beating erratically in my chest, my head is pounding. I feel faint even though I've just woken up. I glance slowly around the room with my sleepy eyes, searching for Klaude, but he's not here. Ever since we became engaged, he's been sleeping in this room with me. The king was against it at first. Even I could not help but be surprised by Klaude's bold proposal. Yet, according to him, such a thing is tradition in Brigantia. Since it took father many months to agree, in the end, he only relented with a month remaining to the wedding, saying that he found it more acceptable. It's pleasant when I wake up and actually find him sleeping next to me, but I notice a small note on the bedside table and sigh. He has another morning meeting with my father, it seems. I put a hand to my forehead and close my eyes. And that nightmare. Ever since I became the Tenebron bearer 2 years ago, I have been having these nightmares. Parfait tells me that they become milder the more I learn to put them to the back of my mind. Oh my gosh. The voices usually are not so terrible. They drag me under like that. The last time the voices were this loud, it was because I was surrounded by negativity from somewhere close by. I sat up in bed and turned to look at the beast plush that lies just beside my pillow. The negativity isn't coming from Klaude, right? I'm uncertain whether or not it is the truth or my imagination, but even though he is, for the most part, his usual self, there are moments when he feels different. There are moments where his smile wavers and a tingle of melancholy comes into his eyes. The first time I saw this, it was when he gave me the beast plush. That was 6 days ago. I've asked Klaude multiple times if something is amiss, and he always waves me off with a smile. I glance again around the room that we now share. Most of it has not changed, though Klaude has added some things, namely a piano that sits in one corner. Hell yeah, Klaude! I love a musical king. He insisted on putting it into the room when he first moved in. I had no qualms about it, not when I know that playing calms him down. Besides, I do not mind watching him play. Sometimes when I'm in the mood, I play with him. Perhaps I should suggest playing together sometime later today. I stifle a sigh as I slide off my bed and move to get dressed. A maid arrives to call me to breakfast and then leads me to the dining hall. Breakfast is livelier today on account of Lance, who sits beside Emma Lane, listening to everything the royal family is discussing with a broad smile on his face. Even though the king and Klaude are both absent from the table, Lance talks enough for the both of them. In fact, ever since he arrived, Lance has somehow managed to put himself in the spotlight for every family meal. He does not start conversations on his own, but he's always quick to respond, usually with a smile. He seems inherently interested in everything that he hears. It's amazing to me that he manages to be so animated and attentive so early in the morning. My thoughts are preoccupied during breakfast, hovering somewhere between Klaude's duties and my own. I listen while I eat, sometimes nodding along with the conversation. I have almost cleared my plate when Lance speaks directly to me, jolting me out of my reverie. Have you spoken with the witches in Brigantia, princess? I look up and blink, trying to piece together what he might have been saying. The witches from Brigantia? Klaude tells me that you interact with many witches because you're positioned as the Tenebron bearer. He puts a hand on his chest and gives me a slight bow. Even sitting down in front of a half-finished breakfast plate, he manages to make the motion look somehow dignified. I must stress that, as always, it is an honor to be in your presence. I cannot help but smile at him. Most of the time, being the Tenebron bearer is more an ordeal than a blessing, but I have learned to appreciate that responsibility. Please, Lance, there's no need for that. I shake my head. And no, I do not usually speak with Brigantian witches. I usually have no reason to, unless there is some kind of upset. From what I've heard, though, the witches in Brigantia are content. There are still incidents involving witches in Angiel every so often, but thankfully those incidents have been on the decline for the last year. It does seem that way, though. I cannot say with absolute certainty because I do not have many witch acquaintances. Lance's eyes brighten. He seems to be lost in memory for a few moments, but then he speaks up. Many of the witches I do know have visited the castle to perform extraordinary magical feats. Mother has a few witch acquaintances that help her decorate them for midnight parties with enchanted objects. Midnight parties? Emmeline looks at Lance in wonder. Mother's a bit of a night owl, so she throws many parties at night. She refers to her weekly evening celebrations as midnight balls. Ah, that sounds so lovely. They are quite lovely, if not a bit overwhelming at times. But I suppose that's to be expected. Brigantia is known for its animated nightlife. It's sleepy when the sun is still up and lively when the moon rises. The balls are practically a special nighttime celebration with renowned performers. One year, when Klaude and I were still young, my mother invited a witch whose specialty was magical gardening. Magical gardening? The witch conjured an entire field of colored roses. That sounds cool, actually. That's... Lance laughs. Suffice it to say, it left quite the impression. I think we learned to appreciate roses a lot more after we were gifted an entire field of them. I wonder if such showcases are a part of the reason Klaude loves roses so much. I think of the rose locket and smile. What sort of magic do you specialize in, Princess Lucette? I look up at Lance, momentarily perplexed. Delora taught me shields and ice first, so I am probably most comfortable with those spells, but I do not consider them my specialty. Lucette is very good with ice. She made a sculpture of Klaude once for his birthday. Emmeline! Lance stares at me with clear impress. You made a sculpture out of ice? That's amazing! Klaude thought it was amusing too, even if I could never get his features right. He teased me about it for a long time afterward, but he was definitely distressed when I set the sculpture aside in the sun and spat on the belts. There's a broom here she animated to clean all her own too. No, Mr. Broom is entirely Delora and Parfai's fault. I did not want to bring it here at first, but in the end agreed to it because that thing wouldn't leave me alone when I visited the tavern. Oh, I missed her. I brought it here to tweak the enchantment on it so that it could sleep on its own. Now at least Delora cannot renew the enchantment on it just to tease me. Rod looks up from his plate, eyes and brows raised. A little more than a year ago, Lucette created a light show in the dining hall. There's electricity bouncing everywhere. The lightning spell is a difficult beginner spell. Lance laughs, looking delighted. So you're a master of all trades. I wouldn't expect anything less than the tenant bearer. It is a shame that you can't come to Brigantia for a long enough time to meet the witches there. They speak of you fondly, even if they cannot see you often. They do? Oh, certainly. That is surprising. But perhaps I'm making more progress with everyone than I first thought. I think about what Lance said, and about my inability to visit Brigantia. Unfortunately, I cannot leave Angiel for extended periods of time when I am the tenant bearer. I have to remain in the kingdom because I am tied to the crystal, but my thoughts shift to Klaude. He has gone to visit Brigantia a number of times without me, but I know that he is sad I cannot join him. Because of my own position as tenant bearer, I can never go to Brigantia and become a princess there. That is the reason my wedding engagement with Klaude will make him a crown prince of Angiel. It is also the reason Klaude was forced to step down as crown prince of Brigantia and hand the title over to his brother. Lance breaks through my thoughts with a question. Might I be so bold to ask you for a demonstration? I'd be happy to tell you more about Klaude if you show me some of your magic. Cheeky bastard. Ophelia, who had been quietly listening in on our conversation, suddenly stands up from the table with a smile. I'll leave you all to it then, but please, no electric mishaps. I am more than capable of controlling my electricity. Ophelia just smiles at my embarrassment before seating herself on the table. A magical demonstration. I am still considering what spell to cast when the doors to the dining hall swing open and Klaude walks inside. He looks somehow downtrodden, his expression broody. Karma, you came just in time for the princess's magical demonstration. Klaude turns and looks at me quizzically, his expression softening. Then I've arrived at the perfect time. He's walking until he's standing behind my chair. I'm I'm relieved to see his initial stress completely disappear from his face. I turn my gaze to the rest of the table. Everyone is looking at me expectantly. A spell. Should I do something that I'm comfortable with, or something new? I think we're gonna go with something comfortable. An ice spell is always a safe spell. I scoot my chair back so that I have some space in front of me, and I extend my arms and concentrate on the flow of magic beneath the surface of my skin. It took me a while to master this concentration, but after 2 years of practice, I've become quite adept at basic magic. I gather the ice in my fingertips slowly but surely. Lance is staring with wide eyes while Klaude looks on with a strangely mischievous smile. I'm getting nostalgic already. Nostalgic? Lucette has tried more than a few times to beat best me in sword fighting with her ice. I begin to form the ice into shape with my fingers. She never wins when that happens, but of course, because cheaters, I turn and hold the object out, pointing it at his chest. A sword crafted out of ice extends from my fingers, frozen in front of Claude's chest. Never prosper. An ice sword. Oh, this is definitely new. It has a surprising amount of detail. What do you mean surprising? Klaude grins at me before putting his fingers to the edge of the blade and lowering it from his chest. How very charming. It would not be so charming if I ran it through your heart. Damn! Lance stares at me in shock, but Klaude just laughs. I don't think having my heart broken by my fiancé would be so terrible. So long as you can mend it for me again. The two of us exchange a smile before Klaude leans down to inspect the sword. It would be a shame to have such a beautiful sword get cheap from practicing. I shake my head and lower the sword. The ice is already beginning to magically melt, crumbling back into small flakes. Beauty is, as I say, ever so fleeting. That was amazing, Lucette. Your magic is so beautiful. And fierce. Sometimes too much so. I scoff. You make it sound like my magic is aggressive when it's not. I barely have any reason to use magic in the first place. Most of the time, I only use it for convenience. And then I sometimes use it to make gifts for Klaude just to upstage him. Lance thanks me again for the demonstration before excusing himself. He and Emmeline rush off for extremely important plans. Rod heaves out a great sigh before eventually following after them. I hope they're not trying too hard for my birthday celebration tomorrow. I remain with Klaude while he eats late breakfast and then head out with him when he is done. I know that our time together will not last long. Klaude has to take off to another lesson and I have a meeting with my father. There's another discussion about the implementation. Oh my god, why is that so hard to say? Implementation. Good enough. Implementation. That's okay. Got it. I'm new laws and Angie L. After a quick exchange of farewells, we separate and go our own ways. The day turns out to be busier than I anticipated, except for a short hour break in between. I barely see Klaude. He manages to give me his gift for the day in between our responsibilities. It's a feat for the eyes, a simple yet elegant blue dress decorated with lilies. Klaude is good at selecting dresses, given his prior experiences with them. The king is always surprised when I tell him that Klaude helps me compile my wardrobe. I know I'll have to wear this dress sometime soon as well. This thought hangs in my mind as I continue about my business. The rest of the day passes in a blur. Even the evening moves quickly. I have enough time to sit down to dinner with my family before I have a meeting with the woods in town. By the time I am finally able to head back to my room, it is 9:10. My body feels incredibly heavy and all I want to do is crash into my bed. I have just turned the bed. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Wake up. I have just turned the bed in the corner when I hear soft music coming through the halls. I stop to listen. Klaude must be playing the piano. Strange, he usually does not play if I'm not there to play with him or watch him. I walk the rest of the way to my bedroom, then push open the door quietly so as to not disturb Klaude. Oh my god, he looks so good at the piano. Like, as somebody who plays piano, I have such an appreciation for men who know how to play piano, or anyone who knows how to play piano. But like my husband playing piano, that's so amazing, so amazing. The music wafts out from the room like a gentle breeze. The minute I step inside, I see Klaude at the piano, fingers gliding across the keys to create the beautiful sounds from emanating from the instrument. He's so immersed in his music that he does not notice when I step inside and shut the door behind me. He looks solemn yet at peace, his eyebrows drawn in concentration as he focuses on the key. Even as I watch, the rigidness of his expression begins to crumble away into a gentle smile. The song is beautiful. Will I break his conversation if I move to sit beside him? I'm going to join him at the piano. He'll be fine. Klaude knows how to focus. I make my way over to where he's sitting at the piano and gently slide onto the bench beside him. The song does not stop, even when Klaude inclines his head toward me slightly. The gentle smile never falters. In fact, his eyes seem to gleam even more when he notices us behind him. Well, this is the most pleasant surprise. I was wondering when you'd be back. I set one of my hands down on his knees and lean my head onto his shoulder. It has been a long day. I'm sorry I couldn't look my workload, darling. You deserve a more relaxed day today. You deserve to be spoiled. The piano in the background. Chef's kiss. His playing at the piano ceases as he put his hand on top of mine. Klaude, you spoil me every day. Sometimes too much. It's fine. I furrowed my eyebrows slightly, realizing that my presence has probably put a damper on his playing. I interrupted your playing, didn't I? I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing, darling? You know what I will always say. Klaude smiles at me mischievously. I always notice the most pertinent things, and you are far more important than any piano piece. He laces his finger through mine before leaning forward to press a gentle kiss on my lips. The feelings of his lips on mine causes my earlier stress to melt away completely. Everything around us fades into a gentle blur when I kiss him back. For some time, it feels the world has stopped around us, and then there's just the two of us. At times like this, it feels like we have all the time in the world for each other. I am the first to pull away. I poke Klaude in the chest and smile as I slide off the bench. What song were you playing? I wonder. Is it really necessary to keep it a secret? The song wasn't meant to be a surprise for tomorrow, was it? Klaude just looks at me with lips curved like a cat into a cat-like smile. I'm going to assume that's a yes. I move to sit down on the edge of my bed. If you're in here playing, I'm assuming that you're done for the day? Klaude lets out a sigh as he leans dramatically back on the piano, one arm draped across its surface, the other one resting on his forehead. I'm afraid the night still has more excitement for me. Is it a meeting with father, or assignments from your history tutor? Klaude scoffs at me. How do you know I'm on top of all my assignments? I am just as excellent a pupil as I am an instructor. Your ego knows no bounds. It's confidence, love. Confidence. Klaude sighs as he stands up and stretches. Afterwards, he turns to look at me. I'm afraid I have certain plans for tomorrow that I must check on. Plans for the birthday party? You really don't need to work so hard for me, Klaude. Much to my surprise, Klaude's smile slips, his expression fading into something more somber. I will always work hard for you, Lucette. I would do anything for you. This will never change, even if I cannot be. He stops suddenly, his lips sealed. You cannot be what? Klaude looks at me, startled for a few moments. He steps back toward the door, then oh no, why would you do this? Okay, there we go. Abruptly, he begins to laugh. Never mind. Me. A tired man says a lot of peculiar things. When he smiles, the look is once again melancholy. It's a sad smile. Klaude, are you okay? Yes, Lucette. I'm just a little tired. Don't look at me like that. It'll be fine come tomorrow morning. Klaude? He steps in front of the door, hands on the knob. Yes, darling? Remember that I promised there'd be no secrets between us, right? I would never forget a promise I made with you, Lucette. He said the words with enough conviction that I cannot help but be relieved. This is just passing stress, I promise. I nod my head, relenting. Now I regret to say it, but I'll be a little late tonight, so you don't need to wait up for me. He blows me a kiss. I love you, Lucette. Good night. Good night, Klaude. He steps out through the door and closes it behind him. Once he's gone, I fall back down on my bed, my eyelids fluttering closed. My body welcomes the softness of the sheets and comfort of my pillows. I wonder if there's some way to figure out why Klaude looks so sad. Someone that could tell me how to help him when he's like this. The question whirls around in my mind for a while, but it is not long before my desire to sleep overwhelms memory. Not long after I close my eyes, I find myself drifting away into slumber. When I next wake, my bedroom is dark and quiet. The first thing I'm aware of is my heart, which is beating painfully against my chest. Another nightmare. I put a hand on my forehead and I glance around my room. I notice that Klaude is lying beside me undisturbed. The gentle rise and fall of his chest along with the soft breathing tells me that he is asleep. I find the clock in my room and I stifle a sigh. It is just past midnight. I have no idea how long Klaude has been asleep and I do not want to wake him. Sometimes when the nightmares are terrible, I end up waking Klaude to discuss them with him. Other times when I'm sure he needs the rest, I do my best to forget the nightmares on my own. I could use some fresh air. I quietly slide out of bed and make my way toward the door. I glance over my shoulder at Klaude one last time before quietly stepping outside and shutting my door behind me. Bless you. The palace corridors are quiet at night, save for the muted footsteps of patrolling maids. At first, I'm at a loss for what to do with myself. I could sit in the garden, or I could walk through the hallways until the voices fade. My legs begin to move on their own. Each step sends me down the hallway and closer to a branching corridor. I'm not entirely sure where I'm heading, but I tell all the knights I meet on my way that I'm only wandering for some peace of mind. I have just moved into the conjured corridor where I see a familiar face. Princess! Jurian steps in front of me, her eyebrows drawn together in a clearly anxious expression. Good evening, Jurian. Good evening, Your Highness. Couldn't sleep? It has been a restless night. Are you still working? For a little while longer, yes. And what about you? Just taking a midnight stroll? I've bumped into Jurian quite a few times on these aimless night strolls, and she's always worried. I was. There's no cause for concern. You say that, Princess, but any royal's actions are a concern to us knights, and now that I have to keep my eyes out for both you and the prince. The prince? Rod is also up? Oh no, Prince Lance of Brigantia. He was out here earlier murmuring to himself. That is a little strange. I saw him head into the dining hall last. I sent a few knights over that way just in case. Perhaps he just left his room for a midnight snack. Klaude used to be up at midnight all the time when he first came here. It sounds like a typical Brigantian lifestyle. Anyway, if you need anything from me, I'll be on patrol for a little while longer. Don't hesitate to call me, Princess. I will not. Thank you, Jurian. Jurian turns to walk away, but then pauses to glance over his shoulder. Oh, and Princess? I hope we all get to practice together again soon. Yes, I hope so too. It has been a long time since all four of us have been able to participate in mock battles. Jurian flashes me a small smile before she strides away from me and continuing her patrol. If Lance is up right now, perhaps I should go see him. Without another thought, I begin to make my way to the dining hall. Sure enough, the first thing I notice when I step into the dining hall is Lance, who is sitting at the head of the dining table. His hands clasped as if in prayer. He is muttering something beneath his breath. Lance? Lance glances up at me, bewildered. His shock almost makes me feel guilty. Did I interrupt something? No, not at all. He lets out a deep sigh, his shoulders sagging slightly. A weight seems to fall off of them as he does so, and when he looks up, he once again exudes his usual cheer. I was wondering about the palace when I noticed the dining hall was empty. I wanted to sit down for a few minutes to practice a speech, but he looks down at the table. The downcast expression takes me by surprise, and it's very uncharacteristic of the usually very charismatic Lance. Sometimes I get so caught up in memorizing that I forget about everything around me. I'm sorry. There's no need to apologize, but you were practicing a speech? For whom? It's fine. You do not need to speak about it if you do not want to. I am about to add again when Lance calls my name, making me stop. Have you ever given a direct speech to the people, Princess? Before I used to shun people, I disliked going anywhere near them. Since breaking my curse, however, I have learned to open up to the townsfolk. The king has me address them directly on our monthly rides throughout the town. Of course. I see. If you're asking me that question, I'm assuming that it is because you are practicing your speech to the guardians. Lance smiles a little half-heartedly. I was. The moment Claude became engaged to you, I became next in line for the Brigantian throne. Father had been waiting for me to give a speech officially announcing myself as Brigantia's crown prince. The moment Claude asked for my hand in marriage, he had to relinquish his position as the crown prince of Brigantia. It has never occurred to me that Lance would have to take over something he was unprepared for. And how is the speech going? Lance sighs. Terribly. I die a slow death in front of large crowds. Claude has always been better at speeches than I have. I prefer speaking to people one-on-one. Large crowds are terrifying. He has stage fright? No doubt you both have your own strengths. Talking to so many people at once requires practice. Right. Lance still looks disheartened. The look on his face is similar to Claude's, but I cannot help the small stab to my heart. I'm gonna offer to help Lance. Princess, you don't need to go out of your way to offer assistance. He's just uncontrollably in his chair, comfortably in his chair. Once again, I'm surprised by his discomfort. I was assuming Lance spoke with people just as much ease as Claude. He attracts so much attention, I assumed that he was used to crowds. I'm offering because I've experienced it, because I may be able to provide some assistance. Half of the reason this obligation now rests on Lance's shoulders is because of me, after all. Princess, that is very kind of you. He smiles gently. I would most definitely appreciate your help. Thank you. And in exchange, He looks at me at a loss. Is there anything you would request of me? You told me earlier today that you would tell me more about Klaude after performing magic for you. Oh! Well, if you want embarrassing childhood stories, I'm more than happy to oblige. Lance laughed. It was such a carefree and happy sound that I could not help but laugh with him. It's a deal then. Oh. Lance looked at me wide-eyed. What is it? It's past midnight, isn't it? I'd almost forgotten. Forgotten? To wish you a happy birthday. The smile Lance gives me is so shiny that it almost sparkles. A very blessed happy birthday to you, Lucette. May both your nights and your days be filled with endless cheer and good company. Thank you, Lance. If Claude knew Lance was the first to wish me happy birthday, he would cry. The thought makes me smirk. My conversation with Lance is cut short after that, when at one point, instead of responding to him with words, I responded with an unintended yawn. Excuse myself first that night, relieved that my conversation with Lance has helped me clear the nightmares from my mind. Oh my god, reading the word yawn made me want to yawn. Sorry, my dog is whining. Come here. I'm sure that Lance will be able to solve his problems with help. As for my problems, I pushed the thoughts of Claude's melancholy smile from my mind. For now, it's better not to think about it. Klaude will want me to enjoy my birthday celebration without worrying about him. So for now, I will set aside these worries. I walked back to my room feeling a lot lighter than I had when I first left it.